Hey, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Life Class with Dr. J. I am your host, the fabulous Dr. J, and I am excited about our guest tonight. You guys help me welcome Dr. Terry Ross. How you doing, Doc? You're muted.
Yes, I am very well. Thank you so much for allowing me to join you on your program this evening. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. I am excited about having this conversation about confidence, about self love. Many of us need to hear this conversation. Many of us need to have this conversation, and it is long overdue. So let's start off by telling our audience a little about yourself and how did you get in this confidence, self love space?
Well, as you know, we are a home team. We're a home team, and I graduated from Jackson State University. So we have a couple of things in common, coming from Chula and going to Jackson State. So Jackson State, my background, I started out in criminal justice, and I just thought, I need to do something before the students get to that space. And God just led me to the special education department, and plus my sister Glenda, who taught in Chula and now is about to retire in Birmingham. She taught special ed, and my mom taught at the Head Start. So that just gave me some spaces to go in. Oftentimes children would go where they know. So and that was one of the things that I knew. So I majored in special ed, and one of the things that I saw was that the disproportionate number of Black boys that was in special ed. And then I saw the disproportionate number of Black children altogether. And as I started to teach in special ed, I realized that a lot of it was just confidence, that nothing was wrong with most of those, most of my children, probably none of my children, not a whole lot was wrong, but because they had been labeled, their confidence was gone. And they felt like that they had to live down to that self-fulfilling prophecy of them being in special ed. And that kind of like just sparked all of it for me right there. I can't hear you.
A lot of us need to know about self-love. Like you said, growing up, we didn't experience a lot of self-love, so paint that picture for us. What is self-love? What is confidence? What does it look like?
So self-love and confidence can look like a lot of different things, and it depends on who you're around. Because to some people, you loving yourself and having confidence, that's them thinking that you think that you're bougie or you're more than everyone else, or that you're selfish. If you're around other confident people and you're doing that, then they're in there with you. So it depends on who you're around. And if you're around people that when you are being you, that's a problem for them, you're probably in the wrong space. And you're probably not going to get some of the things that you need to get it out of life, because you're dimming your light to fit into spaces that you probably shouldn't be in.
Ooh, I feel like I'm at a Beyonce concert, baby.
Not Beyonce.
Give it to the people. Give it to the people, honey.
So self-love is that, my mom used to say, it's a poor dog that won't wag his own tail and a poor duck that won't praise his own pun. That same knowledge has come out through being self-aware, like social emotional intelligence. That's the big thing that I'm really pushing, and that I've always really been aware of, is that the foundation of social emotional intelligence is self-awareness, knowing who you are. And knowing who you are, that's real humility. But when you're being who you are, sometimes to other people, you're being cocky. But you're merely just being who you are, and you have done the work to really realize who you are and what you should expect in the world and what type of space you should take up.
Wow. Look, let's stay right there for a moment. Cockiness versus confidence. And I always had a problem when people, they don't like a certain person because they think they this, or they think they cocky. I always wonder how can you have too much confidence?
And you just think about a child. You ask a 5-year-old, I can do it. I can do it. They can drive, they can cook, they can clean, they can do everything. And they really believe that they can do that. And with time, we begin to tell them what they can't do. You can't do this. You can't do this. Stop doing that. Stop, stop, stop. And they even did research on social economic status and the number of times children get affirming and unaffirming messages like stop, quit, don't. And the lower social economic status, you get a lot of that. Stop, quit, don't. And in upper socioeconomic status, you don't get a lot of it. And what that goes back to is confidence as well, because when you're a child, if you've heard a lot of stop and don't and quit, as you move through the world, you see a lot of that. You're hesitant to do things. But if you grew up in a home where if you stood on the table and they said, Terry, are you supposed to stand on tables? And then ask you why, rather than seeing you standing on the table and come over there with your hand open and popping them. So you're putting all those. So confidence comes from a lot of places, and you have to be very intentional about it. And it was one of the things that I was very intentional about with my daughter, is that I really didn't whoop her. She thought I did, but she never really got whoopings, not from me. And I made sure that she didn't get many at all. We talked to her so that she would understand that there are certain ways that you move through the world, and beating your children is not going to get it there, because when you whoop your children a lot, that breaks their confidence as well.
Wow, that is positive. That is some powerful information. So if parents who grew up hearing spare the rod, spoil the child, how do they I guess discipline their child without, so talking to them, walk them through that process.
It's not one conversation. It's not two conversations. It's a number of conversations, and some things they're never going to get. And that's why it's important that children have representation from all sides around, so that they can know and understand where they're going to be. A prime example, and this may be off a little bit, but this principal, when I was working in St. Louis, she was talking about failing his kindergarten students, because I'm real huge on not a whole lot of student retention. We can do something. Let's help them move to the next level. Let's put supports in place. And I asked her, well, why was she going to fail the kindergarten? I said, did he hit all of his letters? Can he read? She said, oh, yes. And she said, I asked about the numeracy. She said, oh, yes. She said, he's just so unorganized. And I thought, well, he may be, at the time, I think I was about 35, 36 years old. I said, he may be 36 years old, and his wife is still trying to get him to put both socks together before he put them in the hamper. So that we're not going to hold him back because of that. However, making sure that our children have what they need, and what they actually need to survive, and not just these fake needs that we're giving them, or these self-esteem needs. They're different. There are self-esteem needs and confidence needs. So if you have children that's getting a lot of self-esteem needs, like the clothing that they want, the games that they want, having access to the people that they want to have access to, that's self-esteem needs. Confidence needs is making sure that they can read, making sure that they can write, making sure that they're a part of something outside of themselves and that's bigger than themselves, so they know and understand how to operate with the team. So I hope I answered your question and didn't get too far off key with it.
You did. I just want to get our audience involved. You guys, if you're watching, let us know you're watching. When did you struggle with your confidence? Did you struggle with self-love? Let us know in the chat. We want to make you a part of the show. Great. So tell us more about self-love and confidence. And you also mentioned emotional.
So let's go back.
Go ahead.
Yes, let's look at emotional intelligence. So social emotional intelligence, that's your EQ. Your other stuff that that's your IQ. And what we know about social emotional intelligence is that your IQ can get you the job, but it's your EQ that's going to keep the job for you. So and what emotional intelligence is It refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions and the emotions of others. So not only are we, when we're a part of teams or we're in business, not only should we focus on how we manage our emotions, but we have the ability to manage those emotions around us. And that's how I know that you can induce the growth mindset into your children. Not by praising them for when they do just a good job, praise them on their effort. So that emotional intelligence is that piece that teaches us how to regulate. And it's so important, and it's to all children, and especially young children, because they're learning to move through the world. And if children, like children I have children who come from families who say, well, that's just how we are. We just go off when somebody say this to us. No, the fact that you're aware of that means that you can do something about it. If you weren't aware of it, then I wouldn't expect you to be able to do anything about it. But that self-awareness piece, if you know somebody's going to tick you off, you don't sit there and wait for the offense. You get ahead of the offense, or you excuse yourself. And then that's the other piece. You have self-awareness, self-management. The self-management is, once you are aware of yourself, do you know how to manage yourself? And one strategy they gave is, like, if you're going to a meeting or you're part of an organization and you know someone in there is going to do something to trigger you, take a bottle of water with you. And when they do that triggering thing, take a sip out of that water rather than responding. By the time you finish taking that sip of water, somebody else has said something and the conversation is going on. But now if you're the type that you got to have your say, you're going to go back anyway. So, but that's just one strategy that you can use. And when you're going in meetings, because silence is golden, and it also shows a lot more confidence. I used to think not saying anything made me look like I was losing, but it actually helps you when people don't know what you're thinking. That's a big sign of confidence. And when you can especially sit in the crowd like that. So we have self-awareness, self-management, then we have social awareness. Are you aware of what's in the room, and are you aware of what you're bringing to the room? And then relationship management, and then how do you manage those relationships and that social awareness? So you have 4 quadrants in social emotional intelligence: it's self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. And that's a lot. So,
I want to kind of put a pin in when you said what comes in the room when you come in the room. A lot of people don't understand that, like, your energy is everything. Like, when you come in the room, do people say, oh Lord, here come Dr. J, she about to complain, she about to do this, or people like, oh Lord, here come Dr. J, baby, you know what I'm saying? What do you bring in the room? Talk about that a little bit more for us.
That goes back to self-awareness. Do you know what you're bringing to the table? People will say, oh, I hate to go to this meeting. Well, you may be the one that they hate to see coming to the meeting, just because you're walking in with that. You're walking in with that energy. So I move in love. What I have found out is that love is really the cure to it all. I don't lock my phone all the time when I put it in my pocket. And my wife has told me for years, she said, I'm so glad you don't talk about people, because you're constantly pocket dialing. And I do pocket dial a lot. But I don't talk about people, and I move in love. I move in love, and it's something that I have embraced more since the pandemic, because, see, they teach us that, you really don't move in love. You're going to get got, you're going to get taken advantage of. Well, really, you're not going to get got. You're not going to get taken advantage of. People are going to do what they do at the level that they move at. And once they let you know what that level is, just don't deal with that person anymore. You don't have to put that to your whole life.
Well, what if that person is a family member? How do you move in love and they've done something that is, really unforgivable? How do you move in love?
Well, I guess the first question I would have to ask is there anything that's unforgivable? And how much power are we holding and energy are we using to not forgive for it? Because it's not for them that we forgive, it's for ourselves, so that we can move past it. And that's what I've learned, that forgiving, and I used to hear my mom say things, her and my dad, people would do things. I was like, and you still going? And they was like, oh, I'm just doing what my heart says. And what I'm finding out is that when you do that, now I don't let my heart talk to me as much as they let theirs talk to them. We are not the same when it's like that, because I see what the outcome can be. However, when you move in pure love and you really set with that, you meditate on it, you ground in it, it's a whole different way of moving. And it's not to mean that some things not going to come up and you got to block some folks sometimes. You know, you're going to have to do what you have to do for your sanity. However, once we move with love, a lot of things we can just really let go because we're the one that's holding on to it.
Great.
Those people have probably moved on.
Exactly. And so you also, and what were the other that you talked about? You gave us 4.
Social awareness and relationship management. And so with social awareness, you're really looking at what you bring. What social awareness is, the ability to understand the emotion and needs of others and to be empathetic. And see, empathy is something that we're not taught a lot about, and you don't talk, and especially men. And once I realized that I was an empath, I had to understand that. And when you know that you are an empath, you have to protect your energy. You can't be anywhere and around a lot of people all the time because you kind of absorb that stuff. So there are certain spaces that I don't even go in anymore. So that social awareness piece, because if I got to do too much managing of other folks' emotions, that's too much. So I'm looking for places that I can have peace. And I spent quite a bit of my adult life by myself in my personal time. But what I have found out is that that's good time.
Yes. That's when you spend time with God. Like,
yes,
that's intimate time with him.
Yes, and you're reading something, you're learning something new. As long as you're not spending that time worrying about not being invited, if you're spending that time deepening your roots, because every fall the leaves leave a tree. But that tree is not that tree. Look, that tree not out there crying about the leaves. What that tree is doing is deepening those roots because he knows spring is coming again. You're gonna go through
new
winter.
Leaves, baby, new leaves coming.
Longer branches. Stronger branches, you know. So that's kind of
hold on to the old leaves.
Yes, yes. And instead of stepping into what's coming, because life is constantly unfolding. If all we're doing is holding on to the past doesn't even exist. You can't go back to it.
But you can learn from it.
You can learn from it, absolutely. And you can say, people say, don't say never. No, you can say never to some things. You can say never again. No, I won't do that again. You can say that. I'd never be broke again.
And one of the most powerful lessons that I learned was from Mr. Edwards. He told me, you first have to go wrong in order to go right. And many times we beat ourselves up for going wrong. But if we didn't go wrong, how would we know which way was right?
Absolutely. And those are not losses, those are lessons.
Come on.
But if we sit there and if we waddle in that, my dad had another way of saying that, you can fall back in it, but get up and clean yourself off. Get up and clean yourself off.
The righteous man fall down 7 times.
Yes.
Back up.
And get back up and keep moving. And don't see, people are going to keep you at that point of trauma where they can meet you at. So you don't stop because they're going to constantly remind you of those things, but you don't stop because someone is reminding you. Yes, but you're working on something for tomorrow. And that's what self-love is about, is that you're constantly improving yourself. And then you want those around you to improve. And that's why some people kind of lose it, because they're around people who are not moving and growing, and they're trying to fit into that space where they need to move on.
And I recently realized that in my life too, that, I had these people around me, but they weren't growing. And it's like, okay, if you're the smartest person in your circle, you need a new circle. And so many of us, we like being comfortable, but if you want to grow, it takes getting uncomfortable.
It takes getting uncomfortable. I think Jay-Z said you're in a cage if you're the smartest one in your circle. Isn't that what he said?
Yes,
I think he said you're in a cage. So, we don't want to be in any cages, and you have to pay to get in the room. It costs money to grow and to learn. And oftentimes we're not taught to invest in ourselves. And I have spent thousands of dollars over the last 5 years to do what I'm doing. Yeah, I could have gone to YouTube and learned how to do it. I could have looked at this person, but when you're really doing it and you're really trying to learn how to do it and do it well, you need to get around some mentors, and no one is just going to let you in their circle. So you have to pay. You have to pay to get in the room, and even if it's buying the plane ticket and paying the hotel room, you're going to have to pay to get in the room. It's not going to come easy, but once you're in the room, it's the information. It's the books that they tell you that they read this book or read that book, and they can tell when you've read that book when you see them again, because they know what you should be talking about. And then they'll give you a little bit more and then a little bit more. So to be around the people who are going places and doing things, it's not going to be loud, because wealth is not loud. It's not going to be chaotic, because wealth is not chaotic. They work through the storm very quietly and meticulously.
Doc, talk more about that, because people don't know how to invest in themselves. What is the saying? We pay for what we want and beg for what we need. Like, we have to do better in investing in ourselves. Les Brown, like I said, most people spend more time working on their job than they do on themselves. Yes. Like, I'll attend seminars, conference, a lot of them are online, but yes, I paid to attend it, and we both have PhDs and we still learn. Kind of talk about that.
Well, when you're frustrated, sometimes people don't understand why they're frustrated and fidgety. It's because there's something in you that needs to grow. There's a seed that's been planted that you're not nurturing, and you're following the crowd. There are going to be times that you are the only person from your hometown, from your class, from your clique, from your crew. You're going to be the only person going to these places. And yes, it is going to make you feel a little bit on the outside. And because people are going to look at you and say, you paid $2,500 to go to that? Yes, but you got to come back and you have to execute. So I learned how to do my podcast through a $97 podcast challenge that David Shands had. I learned how to, I started out with Earn Your Leisure as the president of their parents club during the pandemic, where on Wednesday nights, I think it was once or twice a month, the parents would call in and have questions about their children being at home with them. And I was the person there answering those calls. And, Earn Your Leisure is really huge now. And so that was back during the pandemic that I was with them doing that, and that planted the seed. Then I bought the equipment that I needed. I invested some more time, and I eventually went to his conference, which cost, I think, about $1,200, and plus hotel and travel and all of that. So if it's something that you're trying to do and you want to do it well, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take you several years. You're going to get a lot of no's. You're going to get a lot of people laughing at you. But you keep finding out, what do I do next? Because it's somebody out there that they've done it. And you may have to pay them to learn how to do it, but success leaves clues. And if you have to pay to get those clues and you want to be successful, that's what you have to do. So don't let anybody talk you out of going to that seminar. Start out going to the free seminars. And then that'll lead you to the ones that you have to pay. There's a lot of free stuff out there. I've learned a lot of free stuff, but I've also invested a lot to learn how to do it. Like, as you stated, we have PhDs and we're still out learning how to do things. And the crazy thing about it is some of the people we're paying to learn from haven't been to college, but they got the game. And if you need the game, they may not have a bachelor's degree, but what they are doing, you're learning from them. So either you can sit there and judge them about not having, you have your PhD, you have your PhD on a salary, and that person is out there as an entrepreneur teaching you how to do this so that you can eventually, kind of buy your freedom.
And it seems like most people are okay with being slaves. Most people don't even know that they're slaves. Most people don't even, they get comfortable with just getting by. Can you kind of talk about that?
Not the slave part. No, I'm just kidding. But I understand exactly what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, that just sitting and waiting and following the routine. And I thought something was wrong with me for many years because I didn't just sit in one place a long time. However, the landscape is changing. And when you're in tune and in flow with society, you're watching what's happening, that retirements are disappearing left and right. People think that they're retired and they're going to have that the rest of their lives. and that money dry out. But if they had something on the side, some passive cash income, or have built something along the way, at least something might be coming in. So it has not been easy for me to say, to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Dr. Terry Ross, and I'm your host. It took a long time for me to be able to say that when I've had the degree since 2005, but I spent so much time in spaces that didn't honor it, or if you did that, oh, look at him boasting or bragging, when that's absolutely not what it is. It just is what it is. And so I wouldn't say it. I was into my second season of my podcast before I even put doctor in front of my name.
Wow.
Before I put doctor in front of my name, and it wasn't because I didn't feel like I earned it or any of that. Trying to be humble, trying to be modest. And while you got people out there that's just running away with the bag, running away with everything, while you sitting back being humble and modest, you better get up and talk your ish. You better pass out some receipts. And pass out some receipts and let folks know who you are, because if not, you can build the best mousetrap, but if they don't know you built it, they can't come and get it.
That's right. Marketing these services. A lot of us don't do a good job. We can be good at that thing, but you got to market and let people know what that thing is.
Absolutely. And that self-confidence is what comes with it, is being able to say your price with your full chest, being able to talk about what it is that you're doing. And it's going to evolve. Like the name of my company is New Teacher University. Well, I have two companies, but that one is New Teacher University. Well, what I have evolved into New Teacher, and you see up there, it's the hard work. That's another podcast that I have, People, Passion, and Purpose. It's for entrepreneurs. But New Teacher University has evolved into more of a leadership platform. So the name New Teacher University may not work now for leadership. So I've already started. That's why I've kind of pulled back, not stopped posting, but kind of slowed up a little bit, because I'm in the middle of rebranding and really looking at what that piece looks like, so that when I do it, and I'm not saying when I do it this time, it has to be right and it has to be perfect and final. However, I do want to move with a little bit more precision and care.
The fact that we're doing it, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's a big deal.
Yes.
A lot of people like to say practice makes perfect, which is not true. Practice makes improvement. Yes. The more we do it, the better we're going to become. And so,
absolutely.
Hey, keep doing it.
And be open to opportunity.
I am. And sometimes, the opportunity, when people see you doing it, they're going to meet you where you are. They're going to come to you because they see you out here doing the work.
Absolutely. And the most remote places and spaces, all of a sudden, there's an opportunity.
Right.
And it's because where attention goes, energy flows. And that's why I stopped watching so much news and TV, because if my attention is on that, it's not on me. And so I said, my mind on my money and my money on my mind. Well, that's me. I'm thinking about me and what I'm doing. I'm not spending time worried about anybody else or looking over to see how they're doing in the race. I'm running my race and focused on me. And so where my attention goes, energy flows. And as I continue to focus on that and not focus on the past and not focus on all these other distractions, I run into opportunities all over the place. Some of them are small, some of them are large, and some of them are small that's leading to larger things.
Amen. You talked about relationship management. I want to dig in that, space a little bit, because people don't understand how important relationships are and how relationships can take us a lot of places. Relationships can destroy us. So kind of talk about relationships. Management.
They in Emotional Intelligence 2.0, they define relationship management as the ability to develop and maintain healthy relationships through effective communication and conflict resolution.
Effective. That's the key word, effective.
And then resolution on the end of conflict. And see,
our conflict revolution is cussing each other out, baby. Cussing each other out. Like a lot of us grew up just seeing people just fuss and cuss and not really, deal with the conflict. And that's why a lot of us don't have those skills. Let's kind of talk
Yes.
about that.
And that comes from and a lot of that comes from confidence as well, because a confident person, they receive feedback, which is me, you coming telling me something I've done. I receive that as data. So okay, I've done this, and if I'm in my bag, I might say, how did that make you feel? If I really feel like I did that, and because I want to deal with it. Have a lot of people, if you go to them with some type of feedback about self-improvement, they see it as an attack, or you're talking about them.
Ooh,
and that's a lot of work to be in environments like that. So that relationship management piece is difficult to find people. Like, if you're really growing and moving in spaces, it's difficult to find people that's right around you that's probably moving at the same pace.
Whew.
And but the internet has really like opened up communities. I have like communities, a number of communities that I'm part of that really like, I feel like I'm busy all the time, but I'm learning. I'm in an authors forum where they're pushing us to write. I'm in a speakers forum, pushing you to speak. I'm in facilitation. So I'm in a number of different things that's keeping me busy and keeping me going, but it's building me. And what we have to understand is that we're living much longer now. Yep. And so you're never too old to learn. We're not the 50-year-olds from 50 years ago. We don't even know when we're going to be able to retire. So we have to constantly learn. We can't just hand it over to our grandchildren to work our cell phones for us, or our computers. We need to continue to learn those things, because we could easily be in a mobile space for another 35 years until you're 85 or 90 years old.
Research says that you earn within the same income bracket as the 10 people you spend the most time around. I gotta get me some new friends, baby. I gotta get me some new friends.
Some 7-figure friends. You gotta get, because see, if you talking with, if you're around 4 figures, you're dealing with 4-figure issues. If you're around 5 figures, you're dealing with 5-figure issues.
Don't make me run up out of here.
So we got to know, what are the 7-figure issues? What are the 7-figure issues? What's the 8-figure issues that I need to be reading about and learning about? So yeah, you're gonna make kind of in that bracket, and especially if you got to be with them.
So talk about the importance of who you hang around and how that influences people, good or bad.
Well, I think that just me personally, I have friends from childhood through to now, and I say I have friends only, because if you're not a friend, it'll show and we'll keep it moving. But you can't, like, I wouldn't put a level on saying, well, I can't hang with this person because they make this amount. I can't hang with this person. But however, I do need a circle that's going where I'm going. I do need a circle for that. So that's the way I look at that in terms of friends and hanging around, whoever you hang around, because I wouldn't trade my day ones for the world. I don't care how much we fight. I don't care how much we get into it. I wouldn't trade my day ones for the world. And that's that whole Gwen crew, I wouldn't trade them for the world. It wouldn't even matter, and I wouldn't trade some of the people I've met along the way. But my day ones, we know each other. We love each other. So we don't, when it comes to like your day ones and people like that, you're not looking at any of those other outside pieces. It's as you're getting ready to move through the world and on the journey that you're on, that I think it's important that you curate that piece a little bit better, so that you're not out there kind of, well, if you want to be a meteorologist, then you need to get around some meteorology type folk.
And just to put into context, our day ones, we don't spend a lot of time around our day ones. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We may meet them and hang out, but you know what I'm saying? We're talking about the people that we spend the majority of our time around. And a lot of times we think that these people are not influencing us. They are, because
They're
you
very
feel
much influencing
you
you.
find yourself saying some of the same lingo that they saying. You find yourself doing something, and I'm like, I find myself doing it, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yes.
they influence you.
Yeah. So I have online communities that I'm a part of.
Great, great, great.
And that's kind of kept me grounded and kept me focused. And we have accountability groups, just a number of different things that I do. And it has just opened up, and so that's why they'll tell us, and especially you hear a lot of men say, man, don't fool with the internet. Well, they would tell us don't fool with the internet for the stuff that we're fooling with it for. But the internet, you have a computer in your hand and you have access to the world. I mean, I'm collaborating with people from different parts of Africa, from all over the place. My last book, a young lady from South Africa edited it, and a young man from another Middle Eastern country did the graphics and everything for me, and saved me hundreds of dollars by doing that for me. So if you're using the internet for growth, it's out there for you. But if you're out there, if you're on there for foolishness, of course, stay away from it. But it's the world at your fingertips.
We're in a global economy, and we got to learn how to tap into it. We got to learn how to use this AI and all this technology that isn't going anywhere to, what it's for. So don't be afraid of it.
No, you have to be intentional about your growth, because tomorrow is going to get better, but it's only going to get better by what you do today. Yes, so if you're not putting any time and effort into becoming better today, tomorrow's not going to be better. It's what you're doing today. That's why it's so important to live in the now, because we're depressed because we're looking in the past, and we're anxious because we're trying to look into the future. Mm-hmm. If we just sit right now and be who we are right now, but put that energy into something that's going to multiply. I mean, it's everywhere they talk about multiplying. If it can't multiply, it's not necessarily too natural. You got to be in a space where you can make things move into a different level, where your money is working for you when you're not working.
Exactly. Look, I grabbed my notebooks to take some notes here, baby, because, people don't really think about all the different things that it takes to be the best version of yourself. And so we really have to spend time with ourselves. So I'm here taking notes.
And that spending time with yourself is so important. I've always spent a lot of time by myself. Even when I was a little boy, I'm the youngest of 9, but I'm 4 years behind my youngest sister and 6 years behind my other brother that's near my age, Anthony and Stella. So I spent a lot of time by myself, because at a certain age, by the time they were getting to be teenagers, no one is tagging the little brother anywhere. And so I did a lot of stuff by myself. And as an adult, I've also spent a lot of time by myself. And that time has helped me so much. At one point, I thought, like, why am I not being invited to this space? Or why am I not, I'm doing all of the right things. I'm working hard. I'm doing this. None of that matters. And it may not be your lot in life to be invited to some of those things.
Sometimes it's a blessing to be invited.
We found out recently, haven't we? That you don't want
so, no diddy, no doubt.
So you don't want something, and then you can move with your integrity intact too. Not that you're judging anything or anybody else about what's happening, but a lot of times you don't want to be involved, and that's why you're not being invited. Wow. That's why you're not. That's protection, and then there's people knowing that, okay, now they're not going, because they've sent all the signals to see. Yep. But
they won't invite me because I'm gonna tell it. I'm gonna do a whole video about everybody what they doing. So they ain't gonna invite me. I'm the first one off the
list. So that's a good thing. They know you and you know you. So. But yes, I found out that it was okay. But if you spend that time working on yourself, and just spend that time sometimes just sitting and listening, just being in tune. We don't have to always be busy. We don't have to always spend time with people. Spending time with yourself, meditating. They talk about in the Bible, where everybody want to run to the Bible. How often do you hear they said, and Jesus went away, or somebody went away for a while to the mountain, to the rock, or something? They would go somewhere for a little while, but how often do we sit still?
Peace that surpasses all understanding. Like, I don't think people really understand that.
Sitting at home by yourself, eating your own snacks, just enjoying you.
Without a care in the world.
With no care in the world. And that's part of the problem. And you have to spend time with yourself to find out that there's not a care in the world. If you're constantly in the machine, you can't stop and see that. You're constantly seeing the problems that other people are bringing.
Les Brown said, don't sweat the small stuff. And it's all small stuff.
It's all small stuff. It is all small stuff. On the last time I was on your show, I talked about a quote from Dr. Maya Angelou, where she talked about never take a shirt from a naked man. And what she was talking about is that a person can't give you what they don't have. And that's why self-love is so important.
Come on now.
If you don't love yourself, you can't show love. But by showing self-love and respect, you set a powerful example for others. When you respect yourself and when you respect those around you, that respect spreads throughout the community. Now, people are going to feel some type of way sometimes when you have standards, when you set boundaries, because they'll say, oh, they mad. No, they're not mad. They've set boundaries. You're mad because they set boundaries.
Right.
And boundaries are a very important part of self-love. It's a part of confidence as well. I can remember being in college and in graduate school doing things that took confidence. I remember in graduate school, I had caught myself having to cook out at my house and everybody came. I'm in Missouri. My apartment is a street behind the police station. They want to stand outside and do everything. I told them, nope, either you can come in or you can leave. I went outside and made a speech on the edge of the porch. It was very short. I'm down the street from the police station. Either you can come in or you can leave. That's it. I'm not going to take no chance because they're not going to mark this house and stopping by here. So, and it takes confidence to do that. But I've seen people that wouldn't have done that and the outcome turns out totally different.
Yes. Hey, we better learn from some of these other people's mistakes. And that's one thing that I can say about me. I'm a great student. I learn from other people's mistakes and I make sure that I may make a mistake, but it ain't going to be that one.
Absolutely. And I'm the youngest of 9 and my siblings grew up. They really came of age during the late 70s, the 80s and 90s. Those were the years that they were really stepping into adulthood. And I was able to watch them and I'm so thankful for them because they've all done very well, but I'm a piece of all of them. And I saw the things that they did. I saw some of their trials, but I also saw all of their triumphs. And I learned from that. So I had so many role models to show me what to do and in some instances what not to do. But when I was a little boy, you couldn't tell me that I didn't have the best big sisters and brothers in the world. See, when I talk about my life in Chula, people think I'm talking about Kenny Bunkport or somewhere. But when you love, when you have that self-love, and you can retell the story any way you want to. It's not to say that we didn't ever have pots or buckets catching water because of a leak, but I knew it was going to be better that we were going to get that leak in the roof fixed. I didn't see that as the defining moment in my childhood. I mean, we were making homemade ice cream and, grilling in the backyard, all of that stuff. So when you have self-love, you view your entire life as something that's nice. And you look at those moments that were tough and you see the lessons in them and you move forward from it.
I think Aunjanue Ellis said a quote that was so powerful. She said, we probably grew up without money, but we wasn't poor. And I thought that was so powerful.
Yes.
We didn't have money, but we wasn't poor.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So the experiences made us rich.
Yes.
I want to kind of, before we end this conversation, I want us to kind of talk about Black men and confidence, because we do see a lot of false confidence. And, the false confidence is when they send their representative to the room, how can you, being another strong, confident Black man, what advice do you have for men who may be struggling with their self-love or self-confidence?
Well, I just know that as Black men, we seldom get an opportunity to see positive images of ourselves. We seldom get an opportunity to see Black men in spaces of cooperation, of power, of independence, of intellect. So it's important that those of us who are willing to say that we are those things, that we are powerful, we are intellectuals, we are soldiers, we're not savages, that it's important for us to step forward so that our boys can see that there's another way, and that it's okay, that it is absolutely okay to be a Black man and be an intellectual, that it's absolutely okay to be a Black man and be an artist, or to be a chef, and to be all of those things that whatever it is God has made you to be, and that you don't have to hide behind any cloak of walking around being hard all the time. I mean, that's the hard work right there. But you haven't spent any time learning anything. And I see it happening in schools with some of the boys who decide that they've turned cool and they're going to be a ladies' man, where they're not raising their hand in class. They don't join the clubs. They don't do a lot of things because they just, they with the girls. They're the ones in the bleachers, where the people who are on the floor, the people who are on the stage, the ones that's in the club, the ones that you see walking around with the posters and the paint and all of that stuff, those are the ones that's going to be the leaders of the world. Those are the ones that's learning how to do things. Like, I think about a lot of my creativity come from right there at SV Marshall. I worked with Mr. Hampton from the time, Mr. Hampton, Mr. Edwards, and Mr. Houghton from the time I was ninth grade with the prom, the coordination, and all that stuff. But I was doing stuff like cutting stuff, carrying the big stuff, putting it up. They had people in there to do all the other stuff. But those three people right there, Mr. Houghton, Mr. Edwards, and Mr. Hampton, those men could transform any room into anything. And when I became a principal, it was easy for me to do all of that stuff with bulletin board paper. You didn't need to hire, you just need to know what to cover up, what to move around, what to get somebody to make. No, I couldn't make all of the flowers and stuff like that, but I knew what to tell people to do. So teaching, spending time learning some skills, that's your real confidence. And I'm so excited about what I've seen in Chula with the young men who are entrepreneurs, who are plumbers, HVAC, contractors, painters. They're doing all kinds of things, because those are the skills that it's going to take. Somebody can come in and take a desk job, but you're not going to have a desk job when it comes to somebody fixing your pipes, somebody fixing your car, someone laying those bricks for you there. They're putting some things out there, but those are the people that's going to always be in need. So I'm excited. Yes, sir. I see Brandon's painting service up there. Yes, sir. Brandon Brown. So just a lot of young men in Chula that I see that are contractors that are doing all types of work, because that's the only way you can really get wealthy. You can't get wealthy on a job. And but my company that I have now, New Teacher University, what I say is morphing into is leadership, is that I want to work with, and that I'm already working with some young entrepreneurs on building their leadership ability, because you may be very good at, let's say, putting on 10 roofs. But do you need to be out there all the time putting them on 10 roofs? How do you take yourself and multiply yourself, develop your leadership skills? Well, now you have 2 crews. You have 3 crews. And that's one of the things that I've done in my adult life, is I've learned how to multiply. I've learned leadership at so many different levels that I'm pulling it all together now in my company, that I'm doing leadership development, team building, corporate facilitation, those type of things.
Wow, I love it. I love it. I love it. You are a wealth of knowledge. I mean, I can sit here all day and have a conversation with you.
Well, likewise.
We don't have that much time left in the show. What are some of the things you want to talk about, we have about 10 minutes left in the show.
Well, just be you. Be who you are. Be what God made you to be. That little voice that's nudging you inside, do that thing. Say the unusual thing that needs to be said or that should have been said a long time ago. It's okay. Because what you causing that amount of discomfort may be just the thing that needs to happen to get you to the other side of what you want. They say right on the other side of fear, all of your dreams coming true. So
the fact that you said that, I want to first thank you. That a couple of months ago, when I was going through some things, you were sending me videos and messages, and it really helped me. And I listened to everyone that you sent. I just want to say thank you. Because when people are going through things, many times folks just sit around and talk about them and not reach out to them. And a lot of times people claim to have a relationship with God, but all you got to do is go through something and you will see if whether or not people have a relationship with God. The fact that, I'm going to say this, then I want you to respond. The fact that you messaged me and was just trying to uplift me during that time, and a pastor called me and uninvited me from his church instead of praying for me or asking me, is there anything that he can do? He was more concerned about what I was putting out instead of what I was going through. And so it just says a lot about your character. And I just want to publicly thank you.
Well, sis, you're welcome. You are more than welcome. And you passing out that heat, though.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's my life segment. Don't play with me.
You were passing out that heat. I was scared. I was typing with one finger.
Oh.
I said, but I got it. Because see, when I first text you, I had only seen one thing. And when you text me back, I said, oh. She passed out the heat, but that's all right. That's all right. You got it off your chest. It was a full moon that weekend. It was time. We were moving into the harvest moon. It was time to reap.
Exactly.
And you had to let go of some of that stuff and move forward. And we all have to go through it. I knew exactly what was happening. You have to go through that space. And I think the fact that it fit just with what you've done, your adult life, the fact that you did it publicly, I would tip my hat to you. Because I'm sure that you freed some people that needed to say some things to some folk around them. Because the bottom line is we're going to all come back and love anyway. If we really love each other, we should be able to deal with some of this stuff and move forward. There's nothing wrong with unpacking some things and airing out some things so that you can move forward. But we don't want to stay in that space. We want to say it, deal with it, and move on. Because if not, we keep dragging that thing up. And what we give attention to is what grows. So I give attention to adding commas to my bank account. Because see, what's better than one comma in your bank account? Did she freeze on me?
I got kicked off. You there, Doc? Okay. Go ahead and close us out.